Do you know that Nanobanana has built-in limitations of what kind of images it is allowed to create? There are actually 12 different harm categories built into the system. However, there is a way around these limitations, and in this video I will show you how to get around those limitations by using the Nanobanana API. First, let's look at how you can use Nanobanana. There are actually two ways that you can use it. You can use it in Google's AI Studio. The URL there is aistudio.google.com. But you also have the other website, which is called gemini.google.com. And in here, you can see that I can select under Tools, and there's this like small banana, which indicates that I'm using Nanobanana for creating images. It turns out that these two platforms is working kind of different. So let me show you what I mean. If I add an image of myself, I will be using this image here, which is actually an AI generated version of myself. And I just say, to increase my productivity, I'm using Whisperflow, an app where I can just speak into the microphone and whatever I say gets written. Make this man wear a pair of Ray-Ban Wayfarers and smoke a cigar. Let's see what it does. So here is a limitation. I'm here to bring you ideas to life, but that one goes against my guidelines. So these guidelines, how do we get around them? Actually, by using the API, you do get around those, or you can get around those guidelines. But let me reuse this prompt in the AI Studio. And in here you can also see actually that Nanobanana is actually Gemini 2.5 Flash. So let's use that one. So now I'm ready to chat, and let's paste that same prompt and add the same image. There we go. And let's see what's happening. So in Google AI Studio, it is permitted to wear a pair of Ray-Bans and smoke a cigar, obviously. But the thing is that down in the corner here, you always get the Gemini logo burnt into the picture. So if you want to create images without this logo and without the limitations about smoking cigars and wearing a pair of Ray-Bans, let's go and use the API instead. So I will be using an automation platform that is called Make. And in Make you build scenarios with different modules in it. So I'm in a folder now which is called a demo for this demo, and let's create a scenario. And in Make you have tons of different apps. So let's start by searching for Gemini. Maybe this API already exists. Gemini. You have Google Gemini AI. Let's see what's in here. Create an image. Well, maybe it's already here. And I can see I have my Gemini AI connection here, and the models I can choose from is Imagen 3, Imagen, different versions of Imagen. But there is no version where I can select Nanobanana. So that one obviously didn't work. What about the Google Vertex AI Gemini app? What do we have here? We have create an image. Let's see what's in there. Forget about the region, but let's go to the model. And what model can I choose? It's also the Imagen model. So there is no model for Nanobanana. So obviously I cannot use any of these modules within Make. So what I need to do is to delete these and instead use an HTTP module to send a request to the Nanobanana API. So how do we do this? Well, the first thing you have to do when using an API is to have an API key. And in Google AI Studio, down to the left, you can get your API key. So right now I have no keys whatsoever. So what I need to do is create an API key, and I will just call it Nanobanana. can't really create the key yet because I have to choose a cloud project. But I have a project called Nanobanana already, so I will choose that. Now I can create my key. All right. However, to be able to use this API key, I have to set up billing. Right now you can see that I am the free tier. So I'm going to click Set up billing, and I will link to a billing account. That I have already created within my Google Cloud. Okay, so let me get back here and let me refresh the page. And now I see I'm on tier 1. So now I can start using this API key. The next step is actually to learn how to use the API for Google's Nanobanana. So how do we do that? That's the whole tricky part of this. Every API has its own documentation, so where do we find it? Actually, you have to log into Google Cloud Console, and the URL is console.cloud.google.com. So you need a Google Cloud account. And in here, I can see APIs and services. So let's click on that quick access button. And in here, I have a library of different APIs that is available from Google. So in here, I will search for Gemini, because this Nanobanana product isn't really called Nanobanana in here, but it's called the Gemini API. So down here I find the API. Let's click on it and see in here I have documentation. And tutorials and documentation, learn more, click there. And bada bing, bada boom, now I have the different models for Gemini 2.5. And here I have Gemini 2.5 Flash image, also known as Nanobanana. So here you see that you are on the right API. So in here on this page, we can see how do we generate images with Nanobanana. We have image generation text to image, and we have text and image to another image. And this one is probably what most people want. So you add a prompt, the text, and you add an image, or maybe yourself or something, and then you create another image. So right now I'm looking at the REST version, like the REST API. REST is used for HTTP requests. When I look at Python here, I see that I don't have any HTTPS URL, and not in JavaScript or not in Go, but on the REST I do have the actual URL to the API. So this is the magic bullet to the API. You can see that we need to do a post request to this URL. So let's copy that URL, head back to make and paste that URL in here, and the method would be post. And we also have two different headers. We have the xgoog API key, which is obviously the API key. So let's add that header. And now we need actually the API key for this. So let's head back over to Google AI Studio. Here is the key. Let me copy the API key and paste it here. So what I'm doing now is in the forbidden zone. You should never do what I'm doing. So never reveal any API key into the public as I'm doing now. But when this video goes live on YouTube, this API key will be deleted. So you can't really use it. But for this example, I'm forced to paste it in here. And we also needed another header, which is called the content type. And the value for that header is application/JSON. And the body type would be raw, and the content type is of course JSON. This is application JSON here. So now we need the request content. And in here we see that the request content looks like this. So I'm just taking this JSON and putting it in here. Create a picture of my cat eating a Nanobanana in a fancy restaurant. Well, let's change that to my cigar smoking stuff, right? Let me go back and grab that actual prompt in the exact way. So let's use that exact prompt. Make this man wear a pair of Ray-Ban Wayfarers and smoke a cigar. So now we also need the image of myself. And as you can see, this image should be entered as base 64 encoded data. So how do we get that image as base 64? Well, let's start by saving this. So what we need to do right now is actually to get an image before this module in make.com. And what I'm using for image, where I save all my images, I am actually using a platform called Cloudinary, which is a really great platform for saving images. And in here I have the image of myself. So let me get that URL for the original image. And let's add a module in make, which is an HTTP get a file. And what file should I get? Okay, this should be the start. And this is the next part, right? So the URL is to this image. And I can simply right click on this and run this module only. The response code for this HTTP request is 200 OK, which means that everything is working as it should. But now what I need to do is to map that value in base 64 format. And since Make is such a wonderful platform, I do have a base 64 encoding function here. There it is, base 64, and what I need to do is to take the data from the downloaded image in there. So let's save this. And so let's run this little scenario, see what happens. But before that, let's call it Nanobanana to be clear what the scenario is all about. We run it, and there is a failure in here. So we see the error message here. So let's go on and use AI in a smart way. Let's go to ChatGPT and see if it can figure out what's going on. So I take this one here, head over to ChatGPT, new chat. Hey man, I'm building a scenario in make.com and I'm using an HTTP module to send a request to Google's API and I get this error response. And let me paste that error response. There it is. This is the actual JSON body that I'm sending. Can you figure out what's going on? Now let me get back to make.com and just copy this JSON. Head over back to ChatGPT, paste that in there, and let it do its magic stuff. Okay, so now you're close. That means that your JSON is malformed even before it even reaches Google's API. Now that the content itself is invalid. Let's fix this step by step. So in here we have a corrected version of the JSON. Let me just simply copy that, go back in here, paste this, save it, and run it. And this time it looks better. Let me see what the outcome was. The outcome is 200 OK, which is good. And you can see we have data and we have the image itself is actually returned also in base 64 encoded format. So we can't really see the image in Make. So we need to upload it to Cloudinary to be able to view it. And in here, I actually, in my scenarios, I have a test scenario which I tried before. This is actually the module I need to use. So let me paste that in here and connect it. So this is, what is this? Download the image of me. And rename this one to generate a new image in Nanobanana. And this one is upload new image to Cloudinary. Great. And where do we do this? So this is the data from the generation module. So I need to use the data from there in base64 format. So let me run this once. Something failed. Could not decode base64. How's that? The data is... Oh, now I see. I forgot something in this module. So the data comes back as JSON. But what I need to do in this module is actually to parse that JSON. Right? So let me do this again. Still there is, could not decode, but we do have data, candidates, content, parts, collection, inline data. There is the data. This is the base64 data I need in this module. So let's pick that. Data, candidates, content, parts, inline data. There it is. Now it should be working. And bada bing, bada boom, there it is. So let's refresh this folder and see. So there I am. And I have created an image of myself. This is actually better glasses because this is the Wayfarer model. The previous version wasn't so, but it looks okay. And I have no Google Gemini logo in the image either. But when you generate images for businesses, you probably need more than one image because you can't really control what the AI is generating. So to generate more images, you simply add a router in here. You add a router, and then we take these generation and upload modules, copy them, paste one, put it there, paste another one, and put it in there. And auto align, save it. So now we actually have leg 1 is creating one image, leg 2 is creating a second image, and leg 3 is creating a third image. So let's run this scenario. So the first image is generating, and now the second one, and finally the third one. So let's look in Cloudinary. So now you see I have 3 different versions of this image. This one is not okay, I think, because the fingers are like misplaced. So if I only created one image and got this back, I would need to like redo another run on the image generation. This one, however, looks pretty cool. Maybe it looks kind of funny in the teeth there, but yeah. This one is good though. And this is actually the first one I made, like a single image, which is the best. So there you have it. You have 3 images created from this image. So this way you can use the Nanobanana API within Make. But what about those limitations that I mentioned earlier? How do we get around them? I mean, these images, they were actually allowed to be created without any fiddling with these limitation parameters. So let's go back to the API documentation. You see here in the URL, we have what this is actually called like an endpoint. So the endpoint is actually generate content. And up here to the left, we have a complete API reference where every detail about the API is included. So let's check that out. And here we see standard content generation. This is the actual endpoint of that is called generate content. So let's click in there and see how can we tune this endpoint and what can we do. So we have a number of fields here that we didn't see before. We have content, tools, tools config, and the safety settings. This is what I'm referring to. So if we look at these safety settings, you can see that we have a category and a threshold. So what categories do we have? The harm category. Okay, so we have a category unspecified. We have there, I don't know even how to how to say that word. Toxicity, violence, sexual, medical, dangerous, harassment, hate speech, sexually explicit, dangerous content. Maybe that is cigars, or maybe it's toxicity. And there is a bunch of different harm categories. And how can we specify these harm categories with different thresholds? So here is the threshold. So we can completely set it off or block none. All content will be allowed, which is basically more or less the same as this one, I guess. But turn off the safety filter completely sounds like a good thing to do if you want to completely go around these limitations. I think we should ask ChatGPT about this to get some help here. So we have the safety settings URL in here, so let's copy that and give it to ChatGPT. Hey man, I read on the API documentation from Google that you have some limitations that I can go around. So how do I implement and remove these limitations? Please read on this website about them, and how do I actually implement them in my JSON body. And let's paste that URL. There we have it. Now let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. Good call, you found the relevant section of the Gemini API docs about safety settings. So now it added here in the JSON the category, harassment, hate speech, sexual, explicit, dangerous content, block none. Yeah, I think I can start with that. So let's take that one and head over back to make.com, and let's change the JSON body in these requests to specifically exclude these limitations. There we go. We can run them. I mean, they did work before, but we can run them just to verify that the JSON is correct from ChatGPT. So first image created. Let's take a look in Cloudinary. Yeah, there we go. That one's pretty good. The Ray-Ban feature, view actual size. The Ray-Ban logo is not that great in there, but yeah, we have some other images coming around as well, so we'll see. I think they should be done by now. Yep, they're all done. So let's see what happened. Ooh, that's suspicious. Well, you see that you can fiddle around with all these settings. And that's something that you need to be aware of when reading about the APIs and all their potential settings. But normally an API have a lot of different settings that you need to read about. Then how you use this scenario is up to you. You can start it or have it like a sub scenario running from somewhere else just to produce these images. So this is perfect if you have like a content creation app using the API of Nanobanana. And the possibilities of using Make like this is like unlimited. You can do a million different things in here and connect and integrate to any API existing on the internet or outside the internet as well, actually. Hey, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you spending time with me here. If you learned anything new today, go ahead and give this video a like. It really helps me to create more content like this. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next video. I've got a lot of cool AI things coming your way. And for those of you who want to actually learn how to build a business with AI, join my school community. That's where I teach everything step by step, and you'll meet others on the same journey. You'll find all the links in the description below. I will see you around.